All right, welcome to another episode. Today we are off to pick up a friend of mine, Sam Davies. Now, Sam is a lovely bloke. You'll learn that pretty quickly. Very genuine character. He has a company called Digital Noir, and we'll touch on that a bit this afternoon when we have a chat. But what I really want to get down to is, who is Sam? Where's he come from? And what has shaped who he is? Now, the one thing I do know is that in a past life, Sam was a rapper. I think he will play that down, but the reality is that's who he was. So let's find out a little bit about that. I should actually ring him and tell him that we're nearby.
Hey, mate.
Mate, how are you?
Yeah, what street are you on?
I am about to pull around the corner onto Flinders.
Cool.
All right, I'll see you.
Man.
I'll see you shortly. Here comes the man. Welcome aboard.
Cheers.
We're locked and loaded.
Marketers in cars getting rowdy.
Right. When we caught up recently, you said we should sort of get our heads together and come up with something and see what we can produce.
I like being thrown in the deep end.
Fuck yeah, it's the best place to start.
Feeling good, and the sun's out, 24 degrees
I'll
today.
tell ya.
Adelaide's turned it on.
But I get nervous at this time of year because it's my transition into shorts.
Yeah.
And I don't know when to do it because I can't itsy bitsy that thing. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? That's like a full commitment.
I did it late last year.
Yeah?
Like quite late.
You got to go early because then you end up being like the guy midsummer who's still got sort of
Yeah.
like weird winter legs.
One of my staff, David, he just wears shorts all year round. Like
See, that's a blessed individual.
constantly. I love this car, man. It's
cheers,
nice
man.
inside too.
It's really an enjoyable kind of like, I think it splits the difference for me. Like yes, it's sort of a trucky commercial vehicle, but it's still got that really nice comfort,
It doesn't
luxury
feel
kind
like
of
that
stuff.
inside, though.
No, and even for, you know, a pretty rowdy diesel, it's really calm. It's really easy to sort of just push around the city.
Yeah.
But I watched your little portion of stand-up the other day where you told a story,
Yeah,
and I
sure.
want to get into this more.
Oh, nice.
We touched on it the other day, but
sure.
you know, I want to know how your rap career sort of started, blossomed, blew up, and positioned you in a place to start a company at a fairly young age
Yeah.
to get you to now. Take me all the way back to the start.
I always wanted to be in a band in school. So like we had a couple of shitty bands in high school, but I can't really sing and play the guitar like, you know.
Yeah.
Not really. So then
Isn't that how all rappers start?
pretty much. Well, I was really into punk in high school, so like, you know,
Yeah.
sort of Pennywise, that kind of surf skate punk stuff.
Yep.
Like really into it. We went to all the gigs and like was like deep into music. Like I love music, so like music was a big part of my life. Like I was buying records and sort of, you know, like it was, you know, come home from school, right, where we're going to go Veranda Music on Rundle Street, on Pneumatic Records on Melbourne Street, and sort of, you know, sit in the record store. So I loved music, and then I reckon it would have been, it was skating, so it was kind of like, you know, 4-on-1 videos, like hearing the
Shit,
Roots
yeah,
and
man.
hearing, you know, Exhibit's first album, so 97, I reckon around that era, Grave Diggers, that kind of stuff, and it was
Yep.
like, oh shit, hip hop stuff. But before that, I had, you know, it was early 90s, right? So hip hop was everywhere.
Yes,
but
it was,
kind of
but it was different.
pop stuff, right?
Yeah.
It was Salt and Pepper and kind of,
Yeah.
you know, just stuff that was
Well,
on
the filter
on
wasn't bringing us that real, and I think that's what the mechanism,
Nah.
like the
But-
vehicle of 411s opened the door.
Isn't it weird though? Like, so you have something like Wu-Tang, right? That was like in the popular conscious, like, so like, and
Yeah.
I mean, people were like had like the Wu-Tang kind of snap pants and
Yep.
like, but you know, us sort of more privileged white kids were probably like, oh, you know, look at the fellas out there rocking their Wu-Tang gear.
Yeah, yeah.
But like the music wasn't a part of that. It was just
Yeah.
like it was an image.
Yep.
But like I don't think I hadn't actually heard Wu-Tang or like knew what it was. And then when I heard it, I was like, oh shit, this is actually, you know, like similar to the kind of punk stuff we listened to. It was underground. It was anti-establishment. It was you know, independent, which was cool. So
But I think that was it. Yeah, that's exactly right. The woo-wear movement was completely separate.
yeah, like
it
wasn't,
really didn't have attachment.
But I always thought it was kind of like thugged out, kind of like,
Yeah.
you know, like the music was so different to that. Anyway, so like got into
It didn't have the
hip-hop and-
intelligence in the fashion label that it did in the music.
Not at all.
Mm.
I was like into design back then and into computers, so you know, found some software or whatever and started dabbling around on the computer making beats and stuff. So I sort of started from, you know, it was that kind of internet MC kind of, you know, thing back in the day, but the internet was just kind of happening then, right? So it was
Yeah.
98, 99. So I was like, cool, like all of a sudden I was exploring, finding new music, like finding samples and being able to explore and actually do, like we were talking about the other day, like shit, like I can work out how to use some editing software and sort of teaching myself stuff, so I like the whole kind of exploratory aspect of it, right? Like
Absolutely.
as well as the music. So I started making beats and then met one of my good mates, Tim McQueen's, his younger brother was doing stuff too. So he had like his own site where he was putting stuff out. So we started sort of meeting up and just rapping with him. I mean, it was just an excuse to get high, really. I think that was sort of the catalyst.
That's something I want to touch on today, though. Like, I mean, like, you know, we're talking about how this was a movement to you starting a business. Isn't it funny how drugs, to a certain degree, play such a pivotal role in opening up that door to freedom of expression and creativity in those times of our life? It's
funny that, and you look at, you know, a lot of big, especially tech startups, like that story is kind of quite prevalent.
Absolutely.
And I think that, you know, like, okay, we're in, you know, do come from a pretty privileged position, but I think growing up at school, it was always like, you know, go, you know, finish year 12, get a standard decent job, lawyer, medicine, you know, journalism, this kind of stuff. And I think, you know, we were sort of in year 10, 11 trying to like pull ourselves as far away from that as humanly possible, right? So we were skating and listening to music and, you know, smoking weed and sort of going like, well, this isn't the life we want. And I think that my mentality weirdly was like, I'm going to pull myself as far away from what my parents expect from me and what society expects from me as humanly possible. So hip hop was a pretty good avenue from that. I probably didn't embrace it as much as I could. Like I said in that talk, I kept those lives pretty separate, right? So I was kind of living this sort of alter life, really.
Yeah.
Which jumping forward, I think what sort of killed it in the end. Like we could have taken it further, but I think because I did have that sort of compartmentalized view of it, it was kind of,
it wasn't all in.
And doing too many drugs, it was kind of like damaging for my, you know, my day-to-day, you know, just living, trying to manage those two things.
Yeah, definitely.
So I wish I'd gone on. I was telling my wife the other day, like, if I'd gone all in then, I still reckon I would have ended up in a cool spot because we would have been different. But we were making our own music. We were spending the weekends. We'd go out finding records. We'd come back. We'd sit around. Yeah, we'd get drunk or we'd get high, but we'd sit around, create something, record something, finish it, make some artwork for it, take a photo, maybe do a little video clip. So sort of that whole production cycle, making content.
You were making.
And skate video stuff as well. Again, we were going out skating, making content, doing designs for it. So it was just that whole production cycle, which was really enjoyable. Like it was so much fun to create stuff.
But I think, like, you know, that's an amazing thing, and we'll come back to that. But I also think even the skate thing, right? Like, throw your mind back to when you went skating. It taught you about commitment.
Yeah.
Like, you know, there's so many things we don't even focus on, what you pick, what kids are taking away from these sort of seemingly whatever hood ratty sort of behaviors or just average kid stuff. Throw yourself down 10 stairs with a mission of landing it over and over and over and understanding that it takes hard work to achieve something. That's what you're learning at a very young age, and it is the booze, the smoke, all the shit that gets you to that space.
They were just peripheries, right? So I think, you know, when we were in high school, so when we were 15, 16, there was probably less of the other stuff. But that, like, skating was community. So like every like, I remember as soon as I was sort of old enough to, you know, not have my parents drive me around, 14 or whatever, we were just, you know, any second we were just out. Like 6 a.m, we'd wake up and go meet somewhere. You know, up here, buddy, Mitch, we used to skate here all the time, buddy, the drop off at the back here.
Yep, same.
And there'd be like 30 crew there, and you'd meet all these people, and it was pretty good vibes most of the time, but it was like, yeah, right. So we skated in the city a lot, and like 98 summer holidays, I remember there was just this posse of like skaters everywhere, and it was when they brought in like harsh in the city, and you had to have a helmet and you had to be skating on an aligned road.
Down at Granny's?
Yeah, down at Grandfoot Centre, Target, at Target.
And that was about the era that Brian Mason dropped, it wasn't Durf, Nearly, I think was one of the first.
Then 2.
Yeah. And I think, like, you know,
I think Nearly was a bit earlier, and then 2 came out.
Yeah, that's
98.
right.
So 2 was sort of the better produced one, sort of like Andy and Dion and Young Kale and so like the Adelaide scene was kind of,
it was popping,
and there was stuff happening, and we'd all, you know, you would all go to Dailies or Jetty Surf and speak to Scott and speak to Brian, and, you know, just little skate rats. Like everyone was just frothing though, and it was so much fun. Like we'd just be out all day from the morning until the evening, hitting spots and skating and chatting, and it was a pretty good vibe and good times. Everyone was chill, and again, it was just creativity involved. We were like, we're doing, like, we'd mission out to Hackham, to skate a little mini ramp, or like Hallett Cove and sit on buses and
skate effects.
Skate Effects we went out to a bunch.
Yeah, man.
And that was a mission for us to get out there.
Yeah.
Like, especially when we didn't have our license. Like, we got to Skate Effects on a Sunday. And I saw some crazy, like, Steve Wilson I saw do some crazy shit in the small room at Skate Effects. That big transition up against the wall. It was actually,
That was a fucking dangerous room.
Simpler times, it seems, thinking back to it.
But how, like, you know, see how that can segue into the position you got into in the music thing. Like, I feel too,
very similar.
I know that sort of to a certain degree, your body starts to give a little bit. You know what I mean? Things change around you. Your circle gets a little smaller.
Yeah.
And that music sort of thing rears its head because you can do all those same, you can feel all those same needs and requirements.
Yeah.
But sitting down and make in a different way.
And we're doing the same kind of stuff. So we were, at that time, I think it was like 99, 2000, we were, coming around, going to different parties and stuff, meeting different crews that were doing things. So early days we met Trials and Sesta, the Funkors dudes, and when, before they were Funkors, and hanging out with them doing some stuff. And this was kind of early days when, Hilltops was kind of still the thing. 20 years later, they still are. But they were, that was small, so there wasn't this sort of big thing there was now. Aussie hip hop was kind of a strange little backwaters.
Very much so.
It was starting to sort of happen, but so it was just something different. But it was I think looking back on it, I just loved the whole creative process of being able to take nothing and then make something. And you can sit there at the end of and listen to something and you're like, cool, I made that. And like, regardless if it's good or not, I think you're like, cool, I did that. I did something. So we started doing it, I don't know, like relatively, seriously. We were sort of, thinking, oh shit, we should make an album. And a few of my mates went over to Perth, which kind of, I joked in that thing, it was kind of, was kind of the mecca. There was heaps of crew over there doing some cool stuff.
Yeah, Hunter
and Disaster and
Matty B,
the whole Downside crew. So Clandestine.
Of course.
And early drafts. So we went over there and try, with the idea of sort of doing something, but I think,
Did you have some level of alliance with any of those people, or was it pretty much a blind mission going, that seems like the epicenter, let's go?
No, we knew, there's a guy called Tyson X is his rap name, but he was good mates with Adam, my mate, so like Adam had done some stuff with the dudes from Clandestine, and so like, I've got footage actually, it's crazy. We went over there, the first weekend we were there at this party, and there's VHS footage of it. It's like,
I need to see
Matty B's there, Hunter is there, the whole Perth crew basically. But we kind of, I don't know, we sort of were doing our own thing, but there was some alliance. But I don't know, we kind of had this mentality. So Domino Effect was the name of our crew, of like, we just kind of wanted to do our own shit. We were sort of anti-nut riding, right? Sort of get on the bandwagon.
But I feel like Perth at the time was also the spot for that.
Yeah, it was.
Like Melbourne had its really tight cliques.
Separate,
even Adelaide was very clicky. And I feel like even if you look at the artists from that era in the genre, they were very much more open arms. Their style, their lyrical content, even.
But it was just they were and still are just a bunch of really good people that just but it was less about the image and sort of trying to be tough or whatever. It was just like have a barbecue and write some raps and have some fun, which was
I totally agree. I find it's funny if I throw my mind back to that era, and I say this quickly without thinking, but I feel like at the time New South Wales was the most confused.
Yeah.
Like if you think back, like Melbourne really had a scene going on with LC and, all that sort of, the bit more heavy duty, hardcore stuff. Adelaide sort of had a bit of a broad mixture, but it was sort of getting a bit thuggy, bit imagey, but still led by some sort of good conscience rap.
Yeah.
And then, WA had a very different approach altogether.
We went across to so one of the guys in our crew, Verticue. I don't know if you remember. So he won a freestyle battle here. So I think this is 2000, 2001. So we went across to like the first Oz Hip Hop Summit in Sydney. I think it was in 2000. I think it was 2001. So there was like the Sydney scene was different. So there was it's my Oz Hip Hop. History is going to start failing me now, but
so I know there's holes in my brain here, man. Let me tell you, it's an era.
There was a lot of, I think, older crews. So early 90s, there was stuff that was happening in Sydney, like Western Sydney stuff.
Very much so.
And then there was like DJ Bones. So DJ Bones was important, was and Mass MC and those dudes that were but yeah, it's quite you know, each state had its own kind of take on it, I think. So
it felt like the most international state at the time, but it was also, we were going through that transition where there was the sort of the people that rapped with the US sort of tone.
Yeah, that's right.
There was the Aussie tone, and then there were people in the middle, and I think that's where you started to really see things to be defined. I mean, like, realistically, cast your mind back. Draft was one of the first to come out with an Aussie tone that worked. You know what I mean? You went, whoa.
Well, in a kind of commercial sense.
Yes,
as well,
sorry. I gotta, you know, but you know what I mean. Like, it sort of had it flowed differently to how we were all sort of really forcing it.
Yeah.
And after a while, people just sort of relaxed. Like,
yeah. So there was guys like Weapon X. So I remember there was this Weapon X had a track on some skate vid that was sick, and we didn't know he was Australian. I always take this shit.
Oh, that's so shit.
This
is Peter Van, the party man, people. We're going through. If you don't do this, there's something wrong with you and you're not South Australian.
Exactly. He had this sick track on some skate vid, and then we found out he was from, I think it's from New South Wales. We were like, okay, he had an American accent, right? So he kind of got hated on. I hate how all this stuff becomes so clicky.
Oh,
but,
ridiculous.
Yeah, so it was, but we kind of, like, we pushed, so we did a bunch of stuff in Perth, and then we came back, and I don't know, like we sort of released like an EP, but it was all just underground. I think our, I don't know, probably lack of confidence in the fact that we sort of just wanted to keep it on the downloads. But you almost needed like some promoter element in there that was actually picking us up.
If you could get a time machine now, take back a bunch of promoters, gather these kids up, man, you could really make some impact. But I think everyone was just waiting.
We would have been kind of skeptical, I think, at the time. Like, you know, it would have need to be the right person. Like, because there was a few people promoting, and, you know.
I genuinely believe, though, everyone had this sense of, I'm going to do this, go here and rap a couple of things, make a little mixtape, and I'm going to blow up.
Yeah.
There was this real lack of vision that, okay, we actually need to run a business here.
Yeah.
And I think that's still impacting the Australian hip-hop market.
Yeah.
I mean, the hip-hop market across the world, but like in the Australian market, very much so, because there aren't, let's call them angel investors in the category, coming in going, hey, here's some money, let's turn you into something serious. And the ones that did get it, the hoods turned their brand into a business.
Yeah.
And I think Bliss and Esso, very different model, but they had, you know, heavy investment. And we did see a few other people, and I can't even remember their fucking names, that came in and labels would go, let's make this guy someone.
Yeah.
Yeah, particularly in New South Wales, I had a couple of those
I
players.
think that I had the same conversation in regards to just that whole era. If not even like promoters or labels, if we'd had better guidance, I think, from, you know, like, you know, parents, schools, role models saying, like, it doesn't really matter how you succeed. Like, everyone, oh, you know, you need to go into business, but here's the box that business
Yeah.
You know, you can do it within these parameters, not like, oh, like, shit, we could start a skate label, we could start a record label. Yes, a few of my mates, you know, did end up starting a label and, you know, releasing records and pushing it and taking that next level. But I think that, you know, there wasn't that guidance, like, it's okay to do something that's not necessarily, you know, within these parameters. So,
yeah.
Because there's no difference between starting a design business and starting a record label.
I think that's sort of the thing, like, you know, let's get to that place. Like, okay, so you go to Perth, you start doing your thing, you know, pretty soon that sort of, you start to sort of change your focus, or what happened to then get you back home?
I think I just started, well, like, one, like, I was just doing too many drugs and drinking too much. So I think that, you know, as a 23-year-old or whatever at the time, 22-year-old was probably, you know, like, thinking back, at the time, I was, you know, everyone was doing that, right? I mean, looking to other crews that are out there, like, you know, we were, you know, fairly soft in terms of, you know, our intake, but looking back, it was like, shit, we were living a relatively, like, vicious cycle of a life at a pretty young and influential age in your development. So I was like, oh, maybe this is not right. So I went back to uni and started doing a media degree, and which is helpful, I think, overall too. I did heaps of video stuff, but I was like, this isn't right either. This is just I'm just paying to waste my time. Yeah. So I was still making music, but not really pushing it as hard. And then I saved up and went traveling. So that, like, sort of 2004, I started saving and just got out of SA. So that was sort of the catalyst to get away. But up until that point, I hadn't done anything. So I did half a design degree, half a media degree, and half a music degree, and by myself.
But it's like, I think that's just showing that there's a desire that hasn't found a home.
Definitely. And then it took really meeting Blake, my wife now. She was like, so I was working in a pub and I was working in a retail.
Yeah.
And I was doing all the stuff on the side. So I was still making music in London with a mate, and we were putting out like CDs. I was doing artwork for him. I started filming little videos on the little Canon X65, like putting together edits on that. Just same kind of stuff I'm doing now, really. But she was like, why don't you just do this stuff?
Right.
So that advice, I wish I'd had that advice when I was 17.
Yeah.
Hey, imagine that, like 98, 97, we have an empire now.
Right.
Started pushing digital hard then, which is sort of what I was into. But she's like, why don't you just do this?
But I don't think that was like front of mind.
No,
I just don't think anyone saw that was a path, an achievable business model or a direction. I think still today we don't, we don't put enough focus on the opportunity for kids and the education process that puts their brain into a place where you go, you really can go do all sorts of shit. It doesn't have to be a doctor, a lawyer, or a fireman. You know what I mean?
100%.
You can go a million different roads.
And especially, I think, given that, how fragmented everything is now. Like that, there's no... So like back then it might have been, okay, well, this computer stuff, whatever, that's not really a proof. People aren't making lots of money, even though they kind of were, but I think, in the backwaters of Adelaide, people weren't seeing that as a real path. But it probably would have taken I actually had a couple of cool teachers. Scott Parker was my design teacher. He was sick. He sort of pushed. He gave a bunch of us at school sort of the design bug, and which is there's a few of us that ended up in sort of creative fields. I think because of him sort of saying like, yeah, this is a real profession where you can actually, kick some goals.
Yeah.
Amidst a very kind of business orientated landscape with the rest of the faculty. But nobody really saying like, hey, that's heaps cool. Like, there was kids playing around on 3ds Max. There was us playing around on Photoshop and Fruity Loops and Audition and Cool Edit, it was called back then.
Yep.
But nobody sort of seeing that and going, you guys should just do something.
Nah,
with this.
I think that's what the fuck was that? I think that's the biggest thing. It's GoPro batteries are going.
Oh, no.
There's one gone. This one's still good. I've got more. So, you've moved to Perth.
Yeah.
You're doing your thing.
Yeah.
Rap God is you.
Yeah.
You're living it, loving it, but the drugs and the party seem to be taking precedent more than the passion for the music and the craft.
Yeah, but I think that I also was just like it was like it was like an identity crisis. What do they call it? Like imposter syndrome.
Yeah,
like that was it big time.
But that hit everyone in that fucking Australian rap scene to a certain degree, I think. Some just dealt with it in different ways.
Yeah, because I think there's obviously like the whole, like this, hip hop. How can some white kids from Adelaide be making hip hop?
Right.
That whole thing. And I think just not because I hadn't, like I said before, I sort of fragmented my life into this kind of two worlds.
Yeah.
I think had I just been like, just fucking embrace it, then it could have been something different.
But you know what I think a huge part of it is? Like, yes, we all see this vision, right? We all saw what hip-hop we thought was meant to be.
Yeah.
And then we're trying to go, well, that's what I want to do, but it doesn't feel right. It feels foreign, and I'm getting close, but I can't see what it is. How did you handle, what was the context behind your lyrics? Because I feel that's that's the differentiator, isn't it? Like, that's where that identity crisis can really live or die.
So I felt okay there. So like everything we always wrote was like quite, like I wasn't sort of faking the funk in terms of lyrics. So we were talking about stuff that we did, right?
Yep.
So I think we started, part of our lifestyle was kind of, going and sort of, living closer to kind of what we saw as kind of a street existence as opposed to a cushy middle class Adelaide existence was part of it.
Yep.
But I was I've always been into reading and films, so like I was sort of drawing on those influences. So I think like it was.
But so is Necro. or at least Vinny Paz. Forget Necro, but Paz Man is sort of.
But Vinny was so like, I mean, both those guys. It's great. Both those guys were influences. So like to a certain extent, crazy. I listened to a Necro record the other day. It's like, Yeah, like even I love Gory Days. It's such a good record, but
Yeah.
like there's certain elements of it where I don't know if I can really get behind anymore.
Oh shit, yeah, man! Like 100%. There is some heavy duty, like, yeah. I think that like some of those opened my eyes to stuff that I was like, yeah, I think I know everything. I'm like, holy shit, this is actually living this.
White slavery. And Pat, so I think Paz was great because he walked the line between kind of like street and you know real, and
Absolutely.
also cool topics and you know interesting, and also all the Wu-Tang guys too. So and like we were writing about you know kind of initially kind of you know drinking and you know and partying to a certain extent, and then kind of just the things we're doing. But then I was interested in, I started writing a lot about, I suppose, this existential crisis that I was having, like probably too much. Like a lot of the stuff I started writing at the end was sort of just, you know, it sounds pretty whingy looking back on it, but just kind of me exploring who the hell I was and what the fuck I was doing
For
with,
sure.
with life. So I didn't have a problem with that, but then there was also that kind of, yeah, I don't know, like that maybe that stuff's not so marketable. So we were definitely we were like anti-party rap, anti the sort of like you know party
Yep.
barley. That was not what we were into at all. It was more aligned with kind of yeah you know Jedi mind tricks kind of stuff.
Yep.
So I don't think that caused it. It was more like well yeah it was a bit of it was that kind of split personality. Like there was Vert had a couple of really good tracks about you know that kind of split personality. We were into you know Fight Club had come out and you know that kind of whole that kind of whole thing, Lawnmower Man. So some of those topics we talked
What
about.
a piece, Lawnmower Man. I love that shit so much, man.
Well, that was you know Blade Runner, all that kind of stuff came into it as well.
One of my favourite things, segue for you, but like legit favourite thing these days is not going back and just watching the old movies. It's just watching the trailer again, going,
Sure.
"Fuck yeah, that was a great movie. I remember all of it." You know, you get to that point, you've seen them so much.
need
It's
to
like
watch
just
the movie.
like that's a problem when I you know, like all of us, made a shitload of DVDs, right? VHS, DVDs, all the shit you've had sitting around. I open my cupboard. I don't need to even take a DVD out. I just look at the cover. I'm like, yeah, that movie was good. That one, oh yeah, cool. It's fucking great, but it's also a terrible infliction. That's why we can't choose anything on Netflix.
I know. Yeah, but that's brutal, right? Like it is. And it got to that with kind of going back to that time. It was such a changing kind of everything, right? Like so, like think about music. Like I'd come from literally going to the record store and still buying records or CDs, or like tapes, right? So tapes was everything. So like most of the music we listened to as kids and teenagers was tapes dubbed off a mate, right?
Yep.
Mate, you get a CD, go dub it.
Yep.
And then you know MP3s came, boom, and Audio Galaxy and Napster, and all of a sudden, like Audio Galaxy was crazy, and then Soulsea. All of a sudden, I had a mate that went through like. It was like a hip hop lyrics site. I can't remember what it's called. All hip hop or something. He literally went through like A to I don't know when he got to J or something, and just downloaded like every record. So he had this crazy collection. It was like so we'll just sort of jump in and like finding like okay boot camp like what's that?
Yeah,
you know, like,
yeah. It's a great way to discover stuff that's just otherwise going to just fly through your filter and never be seen.
So I think that all helps. So we got really into all the UK stuff. So Jest and Task Force and like that. It was an interesting period because I think
miss Task Force. That shit was crazy, man.
5 years before, someone like you know
Was it Mike? No.
you Mike Order.
Don't know.
Someone like a Task Force just never would have been known out. Like it's just you know some underground group.
As soon as I heard fucking Chester P though, I was just like, bro, you know, Farmer G was rad, but Chester just had that.
Everyone, man. I read an article a long time ago about with LP from Company Flow and now Run the Jewel. I mean, it's crazy career.
Crazy.
Now, crazy superstar, but he was talking about Chester. You know, Chester's super underground still, and you know, just never really got the recognition I think he deserves as a poet.
Have you ever come across fucking Farmer G's kid Remus?
Yeah.
Fucking dude is a beast.
Met the dude a couple of times.
Yeah, no shit.
Yeah,
he was crazy.
He's he came over here with Chester I think 3 or 4 years ago now,
right?
And did a tour, which was that was trippy, man. It was at the Ed Castle.
Was that Children of the Damned? Are they different?
Different.
I feel like there was some alignment to Chester for that. I think
maybe he might have been on a track.
Yeah, I've got a little fucking vinyl with him on a track with them. That's what it is.
But then it was so Chester's playing at Ed Castle, and there's like it's
20 people
there.
Fuck, I would have been there.
But it was just that's kind of weird. But like being in this period where we've gone from like mass music and like underground stuff is really underground. So it's like if you've got a Pressure or Suffers line on It's a Matter of Time or whatever we was talking about, his graph mags from Oakland, his mixtapes from Oakland, whatever it is. But that used to be prized stuff, right? I had these NoFX bootlegs that I bought somewhere, from one of their shows in Germany. Now all of that stuff is just like, it's easy to find, right? Everybody's got access to everything, but we sort of went across that divide where straight up.
I'm going to take you to McLaren Vale quickly for a beer.
Nice. Oh, I like it. Yes. Where, and that was cool, because that was like what I was into, right? We were into collecting, we were into collect music, skating, all this stuff, and it was like now all of a sudden it's just there, available to you on the internet. It was cool times.
But how long was that cool for? Because for me, I did find that like the hunt and the sort of the dig and the independence of I have this, you have that, let's get together and talk about it, started to disappear when that filter opened up.
Yeah, I think 2005-ish, I sort of started realizing it was weird because you were in it, right? I don't think you could see what was next, and even then it was still kind of. It was really weird. I was thinking this morning, I was sitting in the kitchen, we did this course at Media at Adelaide. It was called maybe the Digital Frontier or something.
Yeah, right.
2003. It was about.
I'd love to go back and sit in on that now.
It was about. So they were talking primarily about the fragmentation that was going to happen to network television. Yeah. Right? Yep. So digital is going to mean that Channel 7 can have 3 channels. Yeah. And that's going to start fragmenting. So all of the theory was actually spot on.
Yeah, absolutely.
It obviously happened in a much different way. They're actually only still just catching on to it, the network television. But I wish I'd been smarter in 2002-3 and been wow, I can see the future, and really jumped onto it. I was 5 or 6 years behind the curve.
I mean, even look at what happened with YouTube. Yeah. People were sort of going, yeah, cool, it was a video streaming thing, but if you'd really embraced that early days, you think about the quality of production that's on there now, you could go all in on that and have a solid fucking...
No, so I think that it actually was kind of, because I'm a big Hunter S. Thompson fan, right? And
Absolutely.
I remember digging on the net to find old videos and interviews, and so we were still sort of digging on the net. It wasn't as easy as just going to everything's on YouTube now.
Yeah. Which again starts to ruin it.
No, it did. So, but I reckon it was a few years later. It's probably only in the last 10 years that it's sort of become. Just it's not hard to find anything anymore.
True.
So that maybe there is a place for, I think it's happening, going back away from publishing everything and having some stuff that's sort of harder to find.
Absolutely. I mean, in some of the smaller independent music labels that are still around now, you're seeing a real resurgence of them printing, pumping tapes out, putting CDs out, pressing vinyl, so that you actually have to get the physical. Yeah. They're not going for the digital sale, and they could do a lot more for less, but I think there's something really nice about that, and I think we're going to come full circle on that, I mean, I'm not a big reader, but Jesus Christ, there's a huge difference between flicking through a book and a Kindle.
Yeah, there is. I think with that kind of stuff, it's if you talk about, if you're a real fan of something, you really appreciate the music or the book or whatever it is, then you kind of want to have that token, right?
Yeah.
With the record or the poster or the tape so you're kind of happy to pay for it. But coming back, I suppose it's weird. It having talked about this a little bit in the last couple of months, I didn't actually appreciate how much all of those skill sets and odd jobs and shit I was doing at the time, all factored into running the business I run now. Yeah. It's actually kind of weird. It was a very good education, unbeknownst to me.
Well, isn't that what it's about? I mean, I think you put yourself out there when you do those things, right? Exactly. You literally are balls to the wall, whatever. You're throwing your heart and soul out into the universe and then dealing with the repercussions. And that is, to a degree, how you run a business. Yep. Briefly, give me that segue. So you've come back from Perth.
Back from Perth.
What happens?
So I was back from Perth, working I worked at the High Marsh Disposals on Port Road, delivering furniture for a couple of years. Yeah. Left uni, and then I started saving. So I was like, I'm going to go traveling. So I'd always kind of wanted to. My parents traveled a lot when I was a kid. I'd always thought, that's what I'll do. After school is travel, but just never, had the money or, time to sort of save up for it. So I went hard for 10 months and saved up 15k and jetted off. So initially I was going to do South America, and then I hooked up with this girl and we went to I did a bit of Southeast Asia and then North Africa and then Europe. So I think we were on the road for 9 months or something. So that was crazy. That was a good good eye-opener for me, sort of just getting out of my bubble and comfort zone and trying some new stuff. So that was like, I think that kind of jolted me out of the funk that I'd been in for a little while. And then moved to London. So, that's what I was still doing the same shit in London, to be honest. We were just drinking a lot of cider and just being idiots, basically.
I feel like that's how so many legendary stories start, isn't it? You know what I mean?
Yeah, K-cider.
Yeah, like I think it's to now look back through that lens of 10 years of DN.
Yeah.
It's an easy question to say, what would you have done differently? And I think you probably wouldn't, right?
No. No, nothing. I someone on LinkedIn posted up before his like what he'd made in his startup for the first couple of years. So they're trying to put it out there that you don't make that much money. But so the 2007, Blakely was like, right, why don't you just do design? So it was just gonna be design then, like nothing else. And I was like, okay, yeah, you're right. Why don't I? So I quit both the jobs. I had very low overheads, really. Like, I just had to make rent. So,
Yeah.
Like, shit, if I can't make 400 quid rent a month selling design, like, there's got to be something wrong with me.
Yeah.
That was literally the business plan. And I was like, yeah, sweet, I can do that. And so, for the first couple of years, I just made, nothing. Like, but covered rent and covered expenses, and that was it, right? There wasn't much vision beyond that. But I think that was a good, again, another probably 2.5, 3 year education where I taught myself a bit about business, taught myself web design, taught myself how to take a meeting, how to all the shit that you end up having to do when you start telling people you can do things. And I think again that having the confidence or the naivety to say, yeah, I can do it, whatever you want.
Absolutely, and working it out.
Yeah. Working it out very quickly on the fly.
But you proved that early. You went, let's move to Perth, and we're going to work it out.
Sure.
What did you say you guys were called?
Domino effect.
Right.
Yeah.
Do one thing, do another thing, and see what keeps happening. I think it's quite remarkable that a story that you've sort of the journey of the last 20 years, call it, has actually been
20 years now.
So fundamentally based off of a teenager's dream to be a rapper.
Yeah.
Gets you to where you are today. I mean, it's so funny that you and I have a very, very kindred experience in doing that, and then to be able to sit here today and both be like, yeah, cool, we can hold a conversation about nothing for a while and see what comes out the other side. I think all of those skill sets are developed by that initial sort of risk, or not even risk, just desire to do.
Yeah, and actually it worries me, I think sometimes, as a business owner, hiring people and seeing, I hire a lot of people that come straight out of uni and probably haven't had some of these experiences, and like there's, and it wasn't that crazy an experience. I know people that live much crazier lives, but all of that stuff just adds up, and like it does just, it makes you be able to navigate things that happen now in my professional life that much easier, or gives me some beacons along the way where I can say, oh, I've done something similar to this before, I can apply that. Whereas some, I think kids just don't have any of that knowledge, and expecting, weirdly, like someone like myself to be able to give them all of that. And it's like,
absolutely.
I don't know how to do it. You do it.
Make
it happen.
I will always ask, yeah, cool, give us the details, the ones, the zeros, whatever. But like, what do you love? What do you do? Who the fuck are you? You know what I mean? Like, I think that has to be right now one of the most important questions to be being asked in the interview process. Yeah. And I think it's probably the one that people struggle to answer the most.
But it's a worry. I don't know if you saw those job ads I chucked up the last couple of days. Like, I think the first job ad I ever put up for DN, it wasn't video, it was written, but it's got me, Tess and Nick, who are both still with me now. Yep. And it was like, I just wrote it off cuff, and I was like, this is kind of what I want. If you're this person, I don't want you. If you're this person, like, let's have a chat. Yeah. It was very casual, but it was kind of true to me, and I think it spoke to both of them. That both of them were like, cool, this is who I want to. This is the kind of place I want to see myself.
It's so good that you have the ability to put out that authentic kind of position for what you're looking to achieve, and someone can go, yep, that's me, and answer it.
But it's funny though, because the whole authentic stuff is like I think you get caught up in you're running a business, right? And now I've got like a board, and I've got all these things that are, because people, well, it's a proper business now that has a lot of people working for it that I have to make sure I don't fuck up.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's more than just me and my $400 rent. Yeah. But I worry that through that process and getting advice from people that probably, again, haven't been through some of that stuff, all they know is kind of a rigid way of doing something, you lose some of that kind of just the fun and the randomness of like, shit, I don't know how to do this, but let's just try this and see if it
100%.
happens. Whereas, you know, you start getting advisors in and they're like, no, well, you need to do a 4-year business plan on this.
And it takes away that freedom that created the whole machine. But unfortunately, that's the real thing about running a business. Eventually, the fun has to disappear. I mean, like, you know, what did Facebook's statement? It was move fast and break things or whatever it was. And eventually it became to, you know, move fast and don't break anything.
I heard the other day. I think and it wasn't actually that far in between when they changed
that's
it
right.
in the world. It was like,
I mean, I just think that's it. But what a journey. I mean, look, out of all of the things that you've learned, all those changes that have happened to you over the years, if you look back, do you still remember any of your raps?
Oh yeah, I probably rap all of them. I'm not going to do it for you now. But.
No, but I think that's what's important, because that's where it all starts. That's where it all comes from.
Yeah.
And I think that's when you're saying, you know, you meet new people in the world are coming in, and they're keen to get started, and the new world is move fast, get a job now, do a startup, become something massive. Yeah. They miss the fundamental education of life.
I think so.
That is that journey.
I really do think so, and I think that, so like I ask people now, like, have you traveled? Do you want to? Like, because I don't know, like I suppose you don't want to build a business where everybody is like a mirror image of yourself, but Absolutely. Like I do kind of want people that at least have that bit of that itch in the back of their head that's like, maybe this isn't enough for me, or maybe this isn't right, or maybe I should just try something. You know what I mean? Like, I do. Not just sort of towing the company line. I still feel like that. I don't know, do you still feel like that?
I do.
Like I don't know. I joke way too much with my staff and my wife that I'm just going to leave and go to Mexico. I say it all the time. I probably shouldn't. Thing to say, but like,
sounds fucking great. I'll come.
There's something in the back of my head that like kind of is thinking that, right? Like, shit. I want to know I have the freedom tomorrow to jump on a plane and fuck off to Mexico.
And I think in essence that's the greatest goal of anyone building a business, right?
Yeah.
Is to set yourself up in a position where, one, you're not actually that relevant, and two, to build that freedom in. But I think, you know, you are someone like me that embraces the hard work to get to that place.
Yeah, and I think you can't understate how much hard work there is. And I think that's what's different though, and you think back to like learning to skate, and I was never that good at skater, but you know, we put the reward versus effort was, you know, very bad. I think other people would have just given up, right?
Right. Absolutely.
So I was tenacious, if not anything. But like the amount of effort you put in, and same with music. But it was fun, right? The whole process was fun.
Absolutely.
And it wasn't necessarily it always tripped me out when people say like, what is the plan for the business? What's your 3-year plan? And I sort of always like, I thought I should have one, but I didn't. I was sort of like, I don't know, I'll see what comes around the corner and play that when it comes.
But that can only last so long.
Yeah, I know. So you definitely have to start. And I think as you get older, that becomes thing. I think in the last sort of 5 years, I've started. Well, you start seeing more talent come at you pretty quickly. And you're like, shit, I'm gonna be 50 in 15 years. So when I'm 50, I would like to have a bit of security. So.
Or just be able to still fucking land a cool kickflip.
Oh, Tony Hawk just released that bit, so there's no reason why he couldn't be.
That's it. I think, you know, all of those things, life security, job security, a business, looking after staff, all that shit is so important. And when you do embrace, you know, a business, you embrace all of the things that go along with it.
Yeah.
But I think it's so important that we got to make sure you do remember your raps, that you know, you can still land a kickflip, like stay true to that core beginning.
Yep.
Fundamentally, I think that's what is still my driver, and I hope will be my driver for a long time into the future.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I think having fun, right? Like there's no reason why business and fun can't go hand in hand. They should. I think that's changing slightly, but definitely when I was growing up, like, it wasn't. Like, it would seem like this is a serious business for serious people.
Yeah. But I love it that you and I are talking about business and how things should be serious, and I mean, they are serious, and it's a real thing. Yet we're currently just cruising through McLaren Vale on our way to get a beer after a fucking chat about Aussie hip hop.
Yeah, but it's good. That's why we started our own business,
right? I mean, that's what you almost want to impart to that next generation of people coming through. Is like, man, do it your way. Don't carbon copy someone else. Do it your way. Stay true to the roots of who you are.
Yeah.
And it will sort of pan out. And if it doesn't, you're learning the tricks to be able to manipulate and maneuver amongst the issues you might face.
And I think go with the flow is good advice there. So I'd speak to heaps of young kids that just want things to happen way too quickly. Have the plan in place, but, you know, expect it to happen in a year's time. So I mean, that's I mean, good luck if that's a reality, but it's not going to happen like that.
That's a great way to finish it. Go with the flow.
Go with the flow.
Now it's time to get a fucking beer.
Nice, man. Where are we going to go?
Well, I think I drove past somewhere that might actually be open,
Yeah,
so we'll
nice.
do a Yui.
Sweet.
Thank you for joining us all. We'll see you soon.
Phew.